Let's start with the point guard position. Wes Miller said that the team does not have a ton of depth there, but he's excited by the players that he does have. The starting point guard's probably going to come down to one of two players. It's Day Thomas, a junior college transfer who's considered one of the best junior college players in the country last season. Wes Miller brings him in, lightning quick, expected to be the fastest player on the team, and he's a good shooter as well. Or it could be Jahlil James, son of NFL legend Edgerrin James. So yeah, you can expect the Edge to be in the crowd this season, probably along with Jason Richardson too, as his son Jace is looking at the Bearcats, and I'm sure he'll have an official or an unofficial where he comes to a game this season. And then Roy Williams. It's like the A-listers coming to Fifth Third Arena left and right. But Jahlil James is lightning quick. I've heard that he's really tough, really gritty, and good with his hands on the defensive side of the ball. That's something that could transfer from day one, from high school to the collegiate level, and he's pretty physical for his age right now. I mean, he does have the genes of an NFL legend running back. So Edgerrin James, one of the toughest runners in NFL history. His son is now a Cincinnati Bearcat. You can expect him to be tough from day one on the defensive side of the ball. Apparently, he's playing a little too fast offensively. Still trying to figure out that, but he's going to make up for it defensively. He can shoot it okay. He can really finish at the rim. He has elite athleticism. So Wes Miller believes that the two they have, they need to get better, but they have all the qualities that UC wants of those old-fashioned, tough Bearcats guards, and he hopes that they can get up to speed soon. Another guy, Simas Lukosius, the Butler Bulldog player that averaged second most on the team for a not very good Bulldogs team last year. Lukosius can play the point guard if needed as well. He's good with the ball in his hands. Wes Miller says he creates for everyone. Defensively, it's going to be tough for Lukosius to guard the other team's point guards on defense, but he can play the position offensively, and it sounds like at some point in the year, if there's foul trouble between Day Thomas or Jahlil James, that he will step in there at one point. Now, what's most exciting about this team, according to Wes Miller, is the depth. Well, we'll talk about the depth in a minute because there are two players that could or could not be playing this season that are very vital pieces to their success, and that just depends on what the NCAA decides to do with these waivers. But Wes is excited about the team's depth. He's excited about the team's length, their size, and most importantly, the mentality. So now let's get into Jamil Reynolds and Aziz Bandaogo. Two big guys. Reynolds 6'10", Bandaogo a legit 7 feet. We saw Bandaogo last year for Utah Valley in the NIT. He was the best player on the floor. I mean, he's big time. Bandaogo will be the best big man that Cincinnati's had since Gary Clark. I'm trying to think if there was anyone after that. Nasir Brooks was all right. Probably Gary Clark from day one when he steps in there. The question is, will he be eligible this year? Jamil Reynolds, we saw him last year for Temple. He lost 45 pounds, and Wes Miller has been raving about this dude, just saying that Reynolds could be a star for this team, that he's figured it out really quickly, that he's a great passer, that he runs the floor well, that he's actually a really good shooter in practice, can knock down some threes, and Wes Miller's confident that that will be a part of his game, hopefully this upcoming season. But the question becomes, are they going to play this year? Wes was very vague about it. Said they submitted the waivers, haven't heard anything, and then said, no more questions, please. It would be brutal if these two were ineligible. And think about it. Going into the Big 12 with Sage Tolentino, who we know nothing about, Odi Oguama, who we did see improve the last couple of years, but I think we know what his capabilities are, and it's a role player for a good team, at best, in my opinion. Now, maybe he takes huge strides. We'll see. And defensively, I think he can be pretty good. Victor Locken, now I do love Locken. I think he can be a really good player, and he will be a good player this season. But that's one big on your team in the Big 12. And we saw last year that Victor Locken at times, A, disappears, B, he's been injury-prone, and C, most importantly, there's a thing called foul trouble, and he was in it quite a bit last year. So that's where we stand with these bigs right now. They need to be eligible, or it's just a completely different story heading into the Big 12. You're really going to have to rely on some of the guards. The good news is, I guess, let's think glass half full. Let's think greener grass and brighter days. If they are both ineligible, maybe it's like that burnt toast theory. You know, the theory of, you burn your toast in the morning and you have to make some more toast for 3-4 minutes. And because you burnt your toast, maybe in those 3-4 minutes you would have gotten in a car wreck. Maybe in those 3-4 minutes you walked into work and brushed shoulders with the president of the company and it changed your life. You know, that kind of theory. Maybe in this situation, because they're ineligible, the Bearcats are going to look loaded next year. I truly believe that. And then these two guys have eligibility. They get to play for the team if they don't, transfer or just end their collegiate careers altogether and move on to the next level. And you have these two bigs next year instead of this current year, which could be a struggle in year one of the Big 12 anyways. I think it's going to be a lot better the fall-in year when Dan Skillings is a junior and Jahlil James and Rayvon Griffith is a sophomore. So let's look at the positives if they are ineligible this season. But first things first, cross one finger, cross another finger. Give me some good vibes, and let's allow these two to be eligible because the NCAA makes no sense. I mean, they let you do anything you want for the last 3 years during COVID, literally. Hey, you want to go here? Go for it. Doesn't matter. Meanwhile, these two, Aziz, who's coming back closer to home and wants the mental health waiver, and Jamil Reynolds, who just had his coach fired, and that's why he's leaving. You would think they're going to be eligible, but I have actually heard from close sources that they are not optimistic about it. It's the same sources that told me 2 weeks ago that Tyler Betsy was committing to the Cats. So, again, cross your fingers. We will see there. I think the silver lining for this team is they're going to be better than last year. No doubt about it. And they do lose David DeJulius and Landers Nolly, who were the two best players on last year's team. But think about the way the Bearcats played. It was run and gun. It was take some of the worst shots you will ever see. They were awful defensively. So this team's going to be better. Who's their leader? I don't know. I think Dan Skillings could be the team's best player, but overall they just have a little more depth. CJ Frederick is healthy for the first time in years, according to Wes Miller. He's expected to be a huge part of this team. I mean, let's not forget, CJ Frederick was a starter on an Iowa team that was top 5 in the country years ago. So he's matured since then. John Calipari liked what he brought to the table enough to give him a scholarship last year on a Kentucky Wildcats team that was expected to be, top 10 in the country. And granted, Frederick struggled to shoot last year. He was injured early and often, but still, that has to speak volumes of what this guy can do. Shout out Cardinal Pacelli Panthers. CJ Frederick, lethal shooter, and could be a vocal leader, an advocate for this city, someone that knows this program really well despite never being around it and knows what this program's about. He's going to hold guys accountable. I love the addition, even if it's just him averaging 9 points a game on 3 threes a game. And 9 points a game would be golden. Let's go 6 points a game on a couple of made threes a game. Sometimes that's all you need to get a spark in Fifth Third Arena. And we know that when Fifth Third Arena gets loud and gets a little bit crazy, Bearcats can go on some runs, and we'll call CJ Frederick that spark plug for this year's team that can get some runs going. So that was the gist of what Wes Miller talked in his opening press conference as the season begins on November 6th. I'm Chuck Walter for Chatterbox Bearcats. One more time, a shameless plug. If you love the Cats, go to your audio podcast right now, subscribe, and let's have some fun this upcoming season. Go Bearcats.